I want to get through this one chapter, Parallel Worlds and Multiple Personality. Um, it's the end of this chapter, but I'll try and get through this today. Testing the influence of parallel worlds and multiple personality. I had not yet discovered that the influence of parallel worlds could be clearly evidenced among the people we have labeled as mentally ill. I woke to this fact from my slumbering state of consciousness years ago when, as a therapist, I was reading John Wheeler's Many Worlds Interpretations of Quantum Mechanics and wondered if some of my clients could possibly be under the influence of other worlds. Wheeler suggested that it is theoretically consistent that many space-time continuums could coexist in parallel with ours. I wondered if these people with multiple personalities could somehow be emanating information or some sort of influence from other worlds. At the time, I had several clients who thought they were other people. One of them had developed a distinct accent when he thought he was Napoleon, and just as I put down Wheeler's works, my Napoleon personality came in for his weekly appointment. He was very upset. "What's the trouble?" I asked. "I broke my watch," he explained in his Napoleon accent. I did not know if Napoleon had a watch or not, but decided to try Wheeler's hypothesis out. I assumed more out of curiosity than anything else. Perhaps we could just visit the world of Napoleon and experience firsthand the events taking place. At that point, everything changed. What had been my passive individual psychotherapy approach changed. I had been attempting over a period of time, to find the relationship between the stress in the man's life and his break into the Napoleonic personality. The process suddenly began a dynamic interaction between the two of us as soon as we entered into the possibility that there might be, even if was just in his mind, a parallel world where he was Napoleon. I asked him to describe what had happened to his watch. He leaned down, dug in the imaginary mud, drew out his watch from the mud, brushed it off, and said, "The wagon ran over it." It was so real my body began to sweat with the humidity. "Can we describe this watch?" He looked at his hand and picked up the pieces and explained about the wheels and springs. I took notes, and after he was gone, I went to the library and did a little research. I did not know if Napoleon ever had a watch. He did, and the watch the man described was exactly like the watch Napoleon's time. My linear mind was screaming at me. It couldn't be. This carpenter cannot know about Napoleon's watch. But I continued with Wheeler's theme and began to explore the possibilities. I thought, it may be possible to intervene in the parallel world. If they can influence us, perhaps we can influence them. I could hardly wait for this next appointment. In the meantime, my internal dialogues were working overtime. Perhaps the introspectionists are right. Personal perceptions create reality. Maybe I am falling under the influence of this man's version of reality and mixing it with Wheeler's. What if my own philosophical intentionality mixed with his? Will it have a transference effect? Around and around I went, and the factor that allowed me to continue was the realization that nothing else was working. I plunged into the experiment. If I intervene in the world of Napoleon, will it affect the man's multiple personality? On the next visit, we discussed the possibility that his world of Napoleon might be real. He was astonished. After some discussion, however, he agreed to attempt the experiment. We designed it together and discussed how to intervene from a "what do you want" position, and from real caring on his part. From their first conversation, Napoleon responded full-heartedly. He explained he was very tired of ruling everyone and demanded they comply. He wanted only to be secure in his world and create a permanent order of peace. He asked what such an order would look like, and Napoleon drew out a master plan of world peace. This young man was only 33 years of age, showed how all nations could live in peace. But at that time, we did not know what to do. How do we move from frustration and anger of Napoleon stuck in a world of war and into a world of peace? By the next week, I had an idea. If Napoleon can visit our world seeking help, why can't he visit the world he wants? During the next visit, we discussed again and planned of action we would take together. The plan we came up with suggested we would guide Napoleon to find his own solutions. If we suggested to Napoleon that his world of peace already exists, can we get him to take a quantum leap and visit this world he wants so much? The next few visits were exciting for both the client and for me as a therapist. We discovered that his inner world was responsive to his genuine attempts to intervene. Integration began to take place. He was able to discuss the dynamics of Napoleonic life, and much in the way we would plan a vacation, we planned together Napoleon's visit to his potential world of peace. During the next session we visited his potential world, he gave it form and allowed that world to reveal its secrets on how to live in peace. Napoleon, as an acknowledged entity, a holodyne that has developed to the stage of causal personality, wanted his world of war to be included within the transformation process. By imagining it to be accomplished in detail, the client was able to produce a new inner world of peace. Napoleon gained the peace he wanted. The intent of war was realized in the world of peace. Napoleon got what he wanted. It was not an immediate change. My client discovered a network of emotional patterns that were related to the world of war. For a while, my client and Napoleon began to visit between both the world of war and the world of peace. He would have an outbreak of anger, feel the rage, and hold it in a safe keeping place in his mind until we could discuss it together. We would talk it over during the sessions with Napoleon, who would be invited to explore how the client's world related to Napoleon's inner world. There were always ties between the two. As they worked together, my client's anger would transform into a form of caring in Napoleon's world of peace. Issue after issue began to be processed through Napoleon's new world. The client's byproduct was the solution of his inner conflict. He described it with great pride, saying, "I am the therapist within myself." The processes for resolution required that he discuss together with Napoleon, his internal holodyne, what was the best way to handle his inner world. They created the process within his imagination, and then held that as his reality clearly until the transformation was complete. The most tentative explanation of this transformation was that the information systems within his microtubules self-organized. The negative self-limited holodynes saw themselves as transforming into their fullest potential. Napoleon got his world of peace, and the internal world going on in my client found its resolution. Of course, there is always the idea that love can find a way to heal anything. There is also the possibility that Napoleon was real in a parallel world and reached out for help. The man was sensitive to the information and the call for help and had split into two personalities in order to somehow reach back in and deal with the two worlds. At any rate, a few weeks later, the client no longer exhibited the symptoms of Napoleon. His ability to separate himself from the holodyne of Napoleon, treat his inner Napoleon with respect, find out what he wanted to end the inner world of war, and help him achieve it by creating access to an inner world of peace. This process allowed the client to take an active part in the transformation of his Napoleon holodyne. His symptoms disappeared. Immediately upon completion of this test case, I began to experiment with my other multiple personality patients. This process worked. It allowed a client to dialogue with holodynes, resolve their issues, transform and unfold the potential. It actually worked more efficiently and effectively when the client reached directly into parallel worlds and transformed their information systems. It worked where nothing else seemed to penetrate. I and others have written more extensively on the processes. See Wolf 1990 and 2003, Wolf and Rector 1996. In several thousand cases, similar consistent results have been documented. It seems fairly fail-free process. This model of consciousness proved practical and effective not only with people who were diagnosed as multiple personalities, but in rehabilitation of drug abusers and full recovery among the mentally ill, including schizophrenic families. It has also proven effective among hardcore maximum confinement prisoners, terrorists, juvenile gangs, and dropout students in many parts of the world. It reveals the keys to the transformation of collective consciousness. I think I'm probably going to end it for today, which is not going to end this chapter. The next part is transformation of the collective consciousness. And one of the biggest things that I really want to make a point out is the patient, the identified patient, is never going to be the one with the problem. It's going to be the environment the patient lives in, because it's the environment that creates the behavior. We think a patient is mentally ill, but they are typically always going to act normal human behavior. If somebody punches you, you'll get a bruise. If somebody punches you emotionally, eventually your brain doesn't work as effectively. So it's like stopping the outside world from constantly beating the crap out of you, and then you'll see that you're healed. That's what my biggest challenge was, is, I was being accused of being mentally ill, and I'm not. But I could see myself developing mental illness habits because it was constantly in my face. People were constantly making suggestions, and out of anger, because I was trying to defend myself all the time, out of anger and lack of control of my own emotions, made me more susceptible to the suggestions that were constantly being made about me. So the more I could get myself calm, the more I could remember who I was, the more I was stronger against people that make false accusations to me, the more I'm able to be who I want to be and not who others want to see me as. Now, not to say, there's a million negative videos out on me, and a lot of people would probably diagnose me as being mentally ill, but is it me or is it them? That's what I needed to research. Is it really me? Because I read every single friggin' self-help book. Every look at the book I'm reading. I was on a search to find out what was wrong with me, if I was the problem. And after I did so much research, I found out it wasn't me, it's them. So it's like insanity is going to judge insanity at all times. So it's a matter of, is it me or is it you? And then let's look at our global experiences. The medical community is a little screwed up right now. So while they're screwed up, do you think they're good at diagnosing anything? No, they are mentally ill. Let's look at our governments. Everything is crashing. And they are the ones that are labeling me to be mentally ill, but it's them. Look at their actions. Look at their outcome. Is anything they're doing actually working? Do you think in that mindset that they will come up with a solution? No, they're mentally ill. And to a great extent, it has been our greed. We've been so focused on self that we haven't been focused on our global collective well-being. But the good news is this guy is getting success not treating the patient, but treating the environment. So the good news is that while we see these elites as being mentally ill, if we cure ourselves, we are the ones that are sustaining their behaviors. If we change our behaviors, we systematically change theirs. because it's a matter of which one of us are insane right now. And let's kind of look at the actions. And you have to swallow it up and say, we created the monster. So in order to heal that monster, we heal ourselves.